The small-town high school wasn't used to new faces, so when Leo walked through the doors on the first day, everyone noticed. He was quiet and polite, with soft eyes that looked a little tired. His clothes were plain, a bit worn, like they had been passed down or bought at a thrift store. Nothing flashy, nothing expensive. Almost right away, the students learned something about Leo that set him apart. He was the janitor's son. The same janitor who worked late every night cleaning the halls, sweeping the floors, and making sure the school stayed neat for everyone. To many kids that made Leo easy to ignore. Most of the students didn't bother to talk to him, or include him. They thought he didn't belong. But there was one girl who took it a step further. Brielle was popular, smart, and knew it. She had the kind of confidence that made others follow her lead, but also the kind of pride that looked down on anyone who seemed different. When the teacher asked students to choose their seats, Brielle refused to sit next to Leo. She crossed her arms and whispered jokes about him to her friends. Little laughs, sneaky glances, all the small things that made Leo feel invisible and unwanted. This is a story about how first impressions can be wrong, about judging someone before really knowing who they are, and about what can happen when pride turns to regret. A few days later, in science class, the teacher announced a big project. Everyone was excited but also a little nervous because it would count for a big part of their grade. The teacher asked the class to pair up. Leo and Brielle were paired together. Brielle's face changed instantly. She looked annoyed and surprised. She raised her hand and loudly asked if she could switch partners. Everyone heard her say she didn't want to work with the janitor's kid. The teacher shook her head and said no. Brielle sighed but didn't say anything else. For the next 2 weeks, Brielle ignored Leo completely. She wouldn't talk to him, answer his questions, or even look at him during class. Whenever he tried to share ideas or work together, she stayed silent or walked away. Leo never complained. He just did his part quietly, hoping the project would be over soon. Other students noticed. Some whispered behind Brielle's back, but no one said anything out loud. It was clear, Brielle thought she was better than Leo just because of where he came from. The narrator wonders out loud how class differences can make people act cruel without thinking about the person they're hurting. As the days passed, the deadline for the science project got closer. Brielle still didn't do any work. She acted like the project didn't even matter. Then one morning, the teacher surprised the class. Instead of just turning in the project, everyone had to present their work in front of the whole class. Brielle's confident smile disappeared. She looked nervous and fidgety. She didn't even know what to say about the project. But then, Leo stood up. He didn't just talk. He showed the class a working model he had built, a little machine that explained the science behind their project. He spoke clearly, and with so much knowledge that the whole room fell silent. Everyone was shocked. Brielle couldn't hide her surprise. The teacher looked proud. After the presentation, the teacher told the class it was obvious Leo did all the work. Brielle's face went red, and she tried to explain, but no one believed her. Leo got an A on the project. Brielle got a warning for not helping at all. What no one knew was that Leo loved science. He spent every lunch break reading books and watching videos about it. Even though he didn't have fancy tools or extra help, he worked hard in his own way. The narrator reminds us that sometimes people are more than what we see on the surface, and that true talent can come from the most unexpected places. About a month later, the school announced a big science competition. It was a chance for students to win scholarships and show off their skills. Brielle wanted to join. This could help her get into a good college, but there was one problem. She needed a partner. After how she treated Leo, nobody wanted to team up with her. Friends avoided her, and the teacher gave her no special favors. So, feeling desperate, Brielle did something nobody expected. She went to Leo and asked for his help. The classroom went silent when she made the request. Everyone waited to see how Leo would respond. He looked at Brielle carefully. He remembered all the times she ignored him, refused to work with him, and made fun of him. Then, after a long pause, Leo nodded. But he had one condition. Brielle had to promise she would actually work this time and treat him with respect. Brielle swallowed her pride and agreed. The narrator explains how forgiveness is not about weakness. It's about strength. The courage to give someone a chance, even after they hurt you. At first, working together was awkward. Brielle didn't know how to talk to Leo, and Leo wasn't used to opening up to anyone. They spent hours after school in the library, quietly working on their project. One day, Brielle was invited to Leo's home. She was surprised to see a small apartment filled with books, tools, and homemade gadgets scattered around. The walls were covered with posters of planets, robots, and science heroes. That day, Leo shared his story. His mother had passed away a few years ago, and his dad worked as the school janitor to support them both. They didn't have much money, but their home was full of love and hope. Brielle realized how wrong she had been to judge him by his clothes or his family. Leo wasn't just smart, he was kind, hard-working, and brave. He started teaching Brielle things no teacher ever did, explaining science in ways that made sense and even fun. Slowly, Brielle changed. She began standing up to her old friends when they made fun of Leo. She saw the world through new eyes. The narrator reflects on how kindness can grow in the most unexpected places, and how sometimes the people we look down on have the most to teach us. The big day of the science competition finally arrived. Brielle and Leo had worked hard, and their project was nearly perfect. But just 5 minutes before the judges came, disaster struck. Their model suddenly stopped working. Pieces loosened, and some wires fell out. Brielle's heart raced. She panicked and wanted to give up. Leo stayed calm. Without a word, he grabbed his small toolbox and started fixing the model right there. His hands moved quickly but carefully, tightening screws and reconnecting wires. Brielle watched in awe. She followed his instructions, handing him tools and keeping track of time. Together they worked as a team. With only moments to spare, the model came back to life, working better than before. When they presented, their confidence showed. The judges asked questions, and Leo answered with clear, thoughtful explanations. Brielle helped too, sharing how much she had learned from him. In the end, they didn't win first place, but they earned second. It wasn't the top prize, but it was enough for Brielle to apply for a partial scholarship. More importantly, Brielle realized something deeper. Never judge someone by how they look, or where they come from. True strength and talent can come from the most surprising places. Months later, Brielle and Leo were still good friends. Their teamwork and friendship had changed them both. Brielle now volunteered at the school's tutoring program, and Leo helped other students who struggled. One day, a new student walked into their school. She wore old clothes, just like Leo had on his first day. Some kids laughed and whispered, but Brielle remembered how it felt to be judged. Without hesitation, Brielle smiled and patted the empty seat beside her. The narrator ends with a gentle reminder: the person you ignore today might be the one who saves you tomorrow. Be kind, always.